This video is going to be about marketing, and the specification states everything you need to know for the exam, and it splits it down into these headings: marketing, market research, product trial, that's getting a customer to try something for the first time, repeat purchase, where they want to encourage you to buy something time after time, the product life cycle from the introduction until the eventual decline of a product, the branding and differentiation of a product, how you're going to make it different from the other products on the market, and building a successful marketing mix. So you're thinking which elements of the marketing mix are best suited towards a particular product. So businesses, they really exist to meet customer needs profitably. But only 1 in 5 new brands succeed. Successful marketing success is much harder than you may believe. New businesses and brands come about all the time, but few succeed. And there are a number of reasons for that. And we're going to think about that, including the marketing mix. So in exams, we're often asked about which element of the marketing mix might be the most important for a particular case study. Of course, in a 10 mark, 8 mark, 6 mark question, we might think of a conclusion with the style, it depends. But what does it depend upon? Well, we look at the first element of the marketing mix, product. You might think of some products as unique. Dyson might come up with a special type of fan or hairdryer that others cannot easily copy. So we could say that they're competing on the product element of the marketing mix. Other brands might compete on price, as in they'll just be cheaper. But you'd have to think, is that relevant for a certain company? Because they're reducing their revenue. Place. Selling in the right place might make a business viable. So selling single bottles of water actually works at a festival or train station. But a different location for Tesco's might mean they have to make do with a lower selling price, simply because of where they're selling. And you might think of examples on the internet. Promotion. In a marketing mix, this suggests advertising, or any way that we can convince our customers to engage in product trial or repeat purchase. So product trial is where you're first buying something for the very first time. So you might need a promotion to be tempted to do that. Or repeat purchase, where you might be encouraging loyalty and buying things time after time. So one way of doing that might be a loyalty card. So in this case, our marketing technique is a loyalty card, and it leads to the customers feeling valued and close to the business. And you might think also it might lead to them getting something free. You might have a special voucher at a coffee shop. You buy 6 drinks, it might offer you 1 extra. This gives you a reason to indulge in repeat purchase, to keep going to that coffee shop at the expense of their competitors. So for the business, this means a loyalty card brings them potentially a constant revenue. And that constant revenue stream eventually would lead to profit. Now, of course, you can think loyalty card will also slowly cost the business money. So it depends again. Or you might think of marketing techniques, which is important. A loyalty card, advantages, disadvantages, or an advertising campaign, advantages, disadvantages. And you can go through this type of process leading to and resulting in order to produce those good quality, high mark answers. Market research, you can split this into quantitative research and qualitative research. Quantitative research is you give people surveys perhaps with tick boxes. Do you like this product? A little bit, a lot, not so much. Whereas qualitative research might be free text. You can write whatever you want in that box. So it's easy to make a graph out of quantitative research, and you might struggle with qualitative research. But that gives you much more of an idea. Is your product suitable or not? Someone will write that. They'll write suggestions for you. And you can use this market research to perhaps decide which part of the marketing mix would I use? Does a product or service need to be changed to meet the customer needs? So you make a product, people don't like it because the design's not good enough. You could improve that to better meet the customer needs. And you might use market research as part of a decision whether to withdraw a product. If people aren't using MP3 players anymore because they use their phones, and you've found that out through research, you might use that information to then withdraw that product. And here's the product life cycle. So product life cycle moves from introduction, and you might want to run a promotional campaign when you're introducing a product, for example, free samples. You're unlikely to get much profit when you introduce a product. However, if it's successful, you'll move to growth, where you're trying to persuade people to use your product. You might advertise at this point to try to show how your product's differentiated from another. For marketing mix, you might differentiate by price or your product. A car might be faster than competing brands. This may lead to an advertising campaign that plays to that strength. And if it works, your product will continue to grow for some time. But eventually you're going to get the flat growth associated with maturity of a product. This is where there's intense competition, there's lots of other products doing the same thing. And advertising is at its highest to try to sustain that growth. But all products in the end go into decline. At that point, little money is spent on promotion and the product's kind of lost its appeal. And in the end, you end up in that. However, you could try to implement a product extension strategy. It's in blue here. So that means you extend the life of a product. So that means it's got a new lease of life before eventually going into decline. You could use a few strategies for this. Advertising to get a new audience. You could reduce prices. You could explore a whole new market by trying to sell abroad. Or perhaps you could try to adjust your packaging. For example, changing the shape of your tea bag to try to appeal to people. And that could give your product a new lease of life. There are different types of pricing strategy you can use. Penetration pricing is often used when you introduce a product. So this is when you need to increase market share, and you might just cut the price and hope that people try your product to stimulate that product trial. Price skimming is where you might set a high price before competitors enter the market. Because new products are often bought by early adopters, they're usually prepared to pay high prices for something that's new and attractive. After competitors come into the market, the high price can't be sustained, so it has to be lowered. So price skimming is setting that high price initially. Competitive pricing is where the price of other products on the market are the main influence on your price. You look at what other people are charging and perhaps charge the same. Cost plus pricing is where you add profit on top of the cost of making a product. So it might cost £100 to make a watch. A markup of 50% would put that selling price at £150. Cost plus pricing is deciding how much it costs to make your product and adding something on top to dictate your pricing strategy. And which is suitable for which product depends on the company, and it depends on the product and the company and which they decide is most suitable. Products can be differentiated. Design. This can be thought of the domains of brands like Apple and Dyson, who sell interesting designed products. Branding. You might think of companies with really strong brands like Nike and Reebok. Performance could be about, say, a Mercedes. It's a performance brand, it's a performance product. USP means unique selling point. If a product doesn't have a unique selling point, then it might not be attractive to customers. Why would they buy that particular product? The path to go down without a USP is usually on price or availability. If no one else has it, they might go to your product. Or you're just cheaper than the competition. Problem is, someone can always set up to be cheaper, and just having it is probably a short-term strategy. So a unique selling point is something unique, fantastic, that's going to attract customers to your business. The Boston Matrix helps businesses to analyse the whole portfolio of their products. So stars are their best products and brands which are experiencing high growth. So market growth rate is the axis on the left. So you have a high market growth, and at the bottom axis you've got relative market share. So the stars are those products with a high market growth and a big market share. The stars are the ones you really want to have, and you want to hang on to them for as long as possible. If we move to products with a high market growth but a low market share, you've got question marks. These have the potential to be stars, but the cash flow is usually negative. The question really is, will they become stars? They'd need to build market share to become a star. This is why they usually have negative cash flow, as they may need advertising to build market share and to try to become that star, that great product, that iPhone of products, which is selling really well. The bottom right hand side has cash flows, it's cash cows with a high relative market share but a low growth rate. These are profitable and likely to be a mature product, but not ever likely to become a star. A cash cow is the source of cash that we can use to try to pump into question marks to make them into stars, and you certainly want a lot of cash cows in your portfolio. Dogs are the one with a low growth rate and low market share. These are products perhaps at the end of their life, or a failed product that aren't really going anywhere, and they're not worth investing in. So often you might want to get rid of these failed products. You might want to stop selling them if you identify there are some there. Because the Boston Matrix allows you to consider what to do with products. Ideally, you want stars, you have some cash cows with good cash flow into the business. Question marks you want to turn into stars, but dogs we're not overly interested in. They might be at the end of their life. It's only a snapshot of the current portfolio, and you're looking at products all together. So you're looking at everything you sell and deciding what you want to do in the future and where you need to spend your money. This video has covered a number of quite tricky concepts. Go back over other sections you're interested in and have a think about these important tools about marketing and about business.